it's about to get even more unpredictable than the first ever round of the Japanese Super Touring Car Championship when we were at Fuji. This is the second race at High Speed Ring where the banking could be awash at some point in the next few minutes. Reverse grid, of course, so Degrassi's Golf is on pole, keeping the niche market of German four-wheel drive fans very happy indeed. But we're expected, if this was a dry race, Ellen Frentzen was on such a tear that we're almost lined in for it to happen again. But all will change if the weather is going to be as bad as forecast. Michael Swinnerton alongside me, Adrian Michael Rees. Welcome back to the commentary box again, Swinny. Yeah, it's like we don't know what's going to happen, do we?
No, absolutely not. We didn't really know what was going to happen for race one, given the unique nature of this circuit. This predicted rain is only going to throw an even bigger spanner in the works than there already was.
Now, heavy rain and banking doesn't work in the normal circumstances. Now, what we had seen in the build-up to this, and during the testing session, we asked the question. We were shown a video of how quick the drainage is at this circuit. So the presumption is that it might work. The concern is it might not, and that's where certain potential race stoppages or race cancellations might come into the equation. But just like race one, we just have to wait for it to happen. Wait for that particular pudding to be ate. Away we go. Four-wheel drive, Toyota on the front row, Subaru, Mazda, Mitsubishi, all five of the factory makes from the region. Genesis from Korea have managed to swamp the German Golf. There is a German Mercedes in there or thereabouts, but they're in the mid-pack. Cloud cover already. Ingram with an absolute flyer again. 6th at the start. Well, in fairness, he hasn't really changed position. He was 5th on the grid for the start of race 2, but around the outside into P2 already. That was a fantastic move from your boy there, Swinny Ingram, up to P2.
Yeah,
but the Swarm,
Katayama very nearly closed the door and squeezed him into the wall, but left just enough room for him to squeak through.
And what a sight to see. Subaru ahead of Mitsubishi. One won't be happy with that, but what a nice look that is for all the advertisers around there. Frentzen up to 5th, already about to overtake Narusai, who had such a good start but has fallen back. Degrassi down to 6th, Muto down the inside of P7. You'll see that Ingram cottoned on to what Frentzen was doing in race 1, and hopefully not the only one this race by. Frentzen up to 3rd now after such a good start. Ingram into the lead.
Yeah, Frentzen had a good run through the last corner there, but got blocked by Takahashi as he came up the racetrack. That's killed some of her momentum, so she's all the way back down to 5th, pushing the Genesis out the way.
Thankfully, that could have ended in tears. It could end up even more dangerous than that as the Swarm heads for the braking area. Brace yourself, Frentzen.
Straight
cleverly dodged and straight up to 2nd. So what was predicted is on the cards, but water in the lake, water from the sky is still predicted. We can't see it quite yet. Clouds, though, the radar is showing something is definitely brewing from the heavens as the Swarm goes through the S's once again. Fujiwara managing to hold on this time rather than just giving up. They might have found something mid-session there. Obviously, Ide wasn't very happy with the behaviour of that car. They've obviously explained what they need to do, and I'm not sure if it's still confirmed or not that there will be 19 cars for Bathurst, and it's clear that Fujiwara's name is not on that list there, but that could be not yet, at least.
Yeah, that's very much still up in the air as to whether they'll make it for Bathurst or not. Meanwhile, Muto moves his past Takahashi, so the Genesis once again demonstrating how good it is in a straight line. Frentzen still second for now. Ingram is doing a good job of just mirror driving the BMW.
Now we're seeing some low beam here. Now, is that because of the sort of mist that's starting to appear here? I'm not seeing any windscreen wipers going like the clappers here.
Not yet. Although, having said that, I think I just saw... Maybe I didn't. I thought I saw pits only as Mazda.
Was it the reflection of the suspension bridge over the windscreen?
Oh, it might have been. Either way, it's gotten cloudy, it's gotten hazy, the track temperature will definitely be cold.
Definitely dry in the tunnel, haha, as Frentzen closes in on Ingram. BMW power right there. What's Ingram doing on the grass?
Ingram, it's a straight, mate. I don't know what you're doing that for. Yes, you're in a Mitsubishi, but that doesn't mean you need to drive on the grass. Frentzen now closes in.
Different lines again. You'd think Frentzen would have been wider there. Ingram got the better of that run then. But I wonder if this is going to be what happens when we head through this turn here. It's relatively slow compared to the rest of the track, but the banking is enough. You saw them go high line there. The rest of the cars, though, hugging the apex like your favourite granny.
Yeah, everyone just taking the standard line of going down, hitting the inside of the corner and just hugging that apex, like you said.
So this is the battle. This is obviously a much more entertaining thing to see at the front of the field than it was in race 1. Very good underdog story to be had there. But it was almost not worth it. There we go.
There is rain.
We can hear it, and that was like...
see it. It's just sudden cloud burst. Now,
are people going to pit this lap,
or are they going to try and wait a lap and try and hold it out, depending on how much surface water is on? Well, Ingram is pitting.
Ingram's
is
going in.
Out. That's interesting.
That's going to hurt Frentzen, because if it's going to be this bad this quickly, the person on the right tyres early is going to benefit, and
Ingram
the
is
guys...
not the only one pitting, but Takahashi stays out, Pitsonia stays out, Scaife and Suzuki. So 5 cars have elected to do another lap. Literally everybody else has opted to go pit, get some wet tyres on, because that cloud burst was sudden, and there will already be surface water. It'll be very interesting now that Ingram's out to see how quickly he catches those cars in front now that he's on the correct tyres.
And we can see what choices they made. Intermediates, we might need to be on the full wets the way it's looking now. It's almost looking like a Christmas shopping period.
The intermediates can actually remove a lot of water as you go along the track. You don't really need full wets unless it's like full monsoon weather.
It certainly looks it though. I didn't expect it to be this bad this quickly. It was hilarious to see cars coming in to the tunnel completely dry on the other end.
To be on the right tyres.
That wasn't even like... You sounded like... You said oops like you were driving it then, Swinny. Obviously you're managing him. But all of the wobble on as the track went from wet to dry, back to wet again. But yeah, the guys that haven't pitted are definitely...
They're going to have to come in this lap, and they have essentially screwed their race chances here, because they've stayed out a lap too long. They've been caught by cars on wet tyres already. Ingram is going to be long gone. There goes Frentzen into the pits. They're going to lose a lot of time and a lot of spots now.
At least there was a slight strategic shift there. Not everyone came in, and we've seen that when the circuit has gone from a wet to dry, where everyone just decided, you're all in now, okay, fair enough. So that meant that Ingram is now the one running away with it. Muto and Winterbottom in a similar position to what they were in race 1, as Lotterer might have just put herself back in her place, despite the high and mighty finish of race 1 at high speed ring. And it looks as if,
Frentzen has rejoined 12th. Although interestingly, I did notice she's put full wets on.
Now, if that pays off, I'd be surprised if anyone else decides to make a snap decision to come in for those sort of
Yeah,
treads, basically.
I don't see anyone else changing tyres now, but that was something else interesting. Frentzen now taking the same line as everybody else through turn 2. She's not going high anymore. So evidently this car was set up for the dry, for the very dry. I feel like other teams might have hedged their bets a little bit, probably set the car up with a little bit of wet weather in mind. So at least Frentzen's fastest lap is definitely going to stay, because no one's going to beat that now that the track is wet.
Weather, yeah. And it looks, I mean, I'll have to have a look at the big bend again, the turn 1. Maybe this turn for what sort of state the drainage is in. It looks, yeah, they're hugging the apex. I was expecting it to be a bit more of a pool this quickly. And fascinating technology here at High Speed Ring to allow for wet racing with this sort of camber. I don't think, I mean, you can see a puddle there. I don't think any other venue would have been brave to even pull this off. Like Daytona Roval, I don't think they even attempt to even put a race on when it's this sort of weather.
I've been to Rolex 24s in the past where it has rained and they have continued racing. There was even a NASCAR race around the Daytona road course in the wet that they attempted.
Well,
so it is doable, especially and in the case of round here. Not only have you got very good drainage, but these cars have very good wet tyres. A lot of them are all-wheel drive. We have ample amounts of downforce on these cars. There's no reason why they couldn't race in the wet round here, and they are proving it. Although Frentzen, bless her, has lost all of her speed. She is stayed 12th, catching the cars in front, but Nakajima is also catching her. She's taking the same line as everybody else now. She can't do her high line hijinks, so the one thing that she had in her advantage has just been completely stripped away, and she is going to be fuming, I bet, after this. And she pits again?
Okay, so we wonder if that is an overcorrection then.
We think she's going on to the intermediates, because there's no way she could go back on dries just yet.
And therefore, this is her potentially. I mean, we've seen Takahashi and Petsonia.
They also stayed out a lap too long.
Slicks? Did I just see her put slicks on?
I mean, there is a sort of dry line, and it has kind of stopped raining, but that's brave if she's doing that. Look, you can still see the spray coming out from the back of the car.
Now, that means I want to kind of see where these guys behind Frentzen are lapping, because maybe, just maybe, they are on. Well, Petsonia's only just pitted, unless the stats are wrong here. Petsonia stayed out the entire run. Surely not.
I'd assume not, but going by the lap count on the right-hand side of the screen there, I mean, it's the same true for Takahashi as well.
I've overlooked it. Jack Scaife last. We're expecting the oldest Honda in the field to be last in the pack.
Well, this is what happens when you pit at the wrong time. Fujiwara has managed to get himself
and that's the highest I've ever seen
into the
car.
Points because he pitted on the right lap. Having said that, we've got quite a bit of this race to go, and Suzuki is, I mean, he's a ways behind, but he's at least within sight of the car.
Of all the underdog stories to be had in this championship, I think this will be up there amongst the best, because all this car has to do now is finish where it is, and that will be that will make their season. This will kind of, be their decision to not to go to Bathurst might be vindicated off the back of this. They may be too busy celebrating a single solitary point. Yes. And that might sound like a joke to some of you, but no, this team.
No, it'll mean a lot for them, especially with the results they've had, and how they are still relatively inexperienced as a team, with a very old car which they bought for cheap because of its age.
So does this mean, like we've seen Frentzen pit? I'd like to think perhaps that these guys right at the back are on the driest tyre. and are starting to try and make inroads, but the wetness of offline is
Well, that's
still
what they're going to
kind
have
of
to be
slows them
careful
down.
of, because there is a dry line, you can see it, and you can see that there is no spray coming out from behind these cars on that dry line, which means, in theory, it is technically dry enough for slicks. There will still be a bit of standing water going on there, but not enough to really upset the balance of the car. You will have to be careful,
Nakano.
however, because it's going to be like essentially racing a track that's become a rally course or a rally
Yeah.
stage, in that as soon as you get a wheel off that line, you are in the fence. You are wrapping your car around a tree.
So whilst Ingram is in the lead, we are seeing his teammate Nakano gaining ground on the two Genesises in front. Mitsubishi haven't had both of their drivers on the podium this season just yet, and this is going to be the best opportunity with more than 6 laps to go. Ingram able to bang
Slid
out
into the
wide
wall. That's not going to
almost.
help. Ingram is
That,
deliberately taking the high line to move some of that water around and
yeah,
and cool the
heating the
tyres down.
tyres.
But crucially, he was a good half a lap in front of the two Genesis cars there, and now they're basically going to catch him for the lead.
Winterbottom leading that particular charge. But Ingram, will it be defensive? Oh,
He's going high
very
to
much
again
resigned.
go into the wet line there,
Unless
but
momentum, there we go, still in the lead then.
just
Very well defended. E-Day up to 5th after his surprisingly shock result at the end of the race last time by.
Ingram with a bit of a better
Narusai,
run out of turn 2 there, made some ground on the two Genesis cars. Nakano now catching them all, as is E-Day. This is going to end up being a multi-car cluster, all racing for the lead.
which is something that we didn't expect to happen in race 1. And it's good to see as Narusai holding bookend in that particular pack. Gordon Butcher, the other Toyota. This is a better result for Toyota compared to race 1 as well. Rustad 8th, Degrassi 9th. Degrassi still in the top 10. We're expecting
the rain has helped her.
that car to fall back a bit more.
And maybe this is what was going on with Toyota, why they were so bad in race 1, is they've set the car up with a wet setup in mind. You see Ingram using all of the track.
Using the Mariana Trench.
Oh, he's got to look after his tyres somehow. Kicking up some water on the inside there, where the track's not being used. Goes wide out the dry line again. He wants to stay out of that line, but at the same time, that dry line is the racing line for a lot of this track.
And all the while, still alternate lines can be had. I still want to see if Fujiwara is still in a points paying position, because there's 3/4 of the race left to go. Nobody behind.
But still 15th.
We're
Suzuki's not
expecting
caught
Suzuki
him,
to gain.
Yeah, I was expecting Suzuki to catch, and he's not really done
Honda
so.
in front. There's about 3 or 4 gens of Honda between those two cars as well. Petonia and Takahashi having their own personal battle. Frentzen, well, polar opposites, shall we say. Gamble, it didn't pay off. Scaife.
A gamble that didn't pay off is what can be said for 16th through 20th.
Yes.
They all pitted at the wrong time. They will try to stay out a lap too long. And they've pitted a second time to see if they can get themselves onto dry to make that ground back.
Somebody else into the pits again. So that might help Fujiwara even more so if P14 is now in the pits. All the while Ingram, careful, oh, almost. As E-Day gains on the top 4.
And Narusei's dropping off the back of this. E-Day getting himself around Nakano, using that outside line, using the momentum. He's getting some confidence in the car.
The scenario of this Chaser Motorsports is hard to pinpoint, because yes, it could be underdog, tried and tested piece of equipment on a shoestring budget, E-Day trying to prove a point to the Toyota factory team that this is what they should be running, especially if it was still in the World Championship, but doing more than just admirable. One race win in the bag already. Plenty more to expect, no doubt. And plenty more to shame GR Toyota. As wide goes Ingram again, the sparks flying already.
And everyone else is pitting.
Well then.
Everyone else has deemed the track dry enough to go onto slicks, I feel.
Now that means if Ingram is still going to cling on for dear life to the intermediate concept, does that mean we're going to see Fujiwara even higher up in the top than the top 15, or is Fujiwara going to pit
on if he pits
as well?
Yeah, they're all on slicks now. So they've got to be careful coming out the pits because, of course, that part of the track is still very, very wet. But once they're on the dry line, they can start pushing. And Ingram is now going to have to go on to complete charge mode. And here comes all the other cars.
And Fujiwara, oh dear, there's Frentzen.
Fujiwara has been caught by Frentzen somehow.
No.
Where's she come from? But that's probably going to be game over pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think Fujiwara is going to have to bail out and pit sometime soon because there's going to be some miracle, and we pinned our hopes too much on that as Winterbottom. Well, no, Ingram's lapping last. That's Scaife.
Ingram has lapped Scaife, and Ingram now pits for dries.
Into the pits.
Scaife stays out because he's already on the slicks. So he doesn't need to come back in the pits again. But I feel like with how far behind he is, everybody, it's not going to help at this point. That is too little, too late. Meanwhile, here come the Genesis 2. They are gonna get past Ingram. Ingram's not managed to maintain a big enough gap to rejoin in the lead.
Such a shame.
Although, well, there he is, but yeah, not quite.
It's swarmed by the remains of the top 5, but still Ingram a top 5 finish.
With his teammate just in front of him, that's a good run for that Mitsubishi team.
And pulling it out of the bag, Genesis, just like at Autopolis, it could be on the cards for a podium finish, but E-Day might be the determining factor here in whether it be a win or a 1-2 or a first and a third.
Or even a second and a third if E-Day really gets a good run out of some of these bank corners.
Meccano's still behind once we're on board with E-Day.
So this is proving that, you know, the Genesis is good in a round of power circuit like this. I was saying, you know, last round that the Genesis is good in a straight line, and I wasn't wrong. They've been in the top 5 or in the top 10 for pretty much the entire weekend, regardless of what kind of weather it is, for both races. And now they're getting to prove it by being first and second, okay, with some extenuating circumstances helping them along, but at the same time, you've got to be in the right place at the right time to benefit from that kind of luck.
And the right place is the last lap of the high-speed ring Japanese Super Touring Car Championship round, race 2, and it's a very much 1 and 2 currently. E-Day has held back a little. Ingram, a sensible 5th. Would have been nice if he managed to cling on for the win. He was, to a degree, very quick in race 1, but hit a ceiling. The strategic plan on the weather is perhaps that ceiling for this particular race. Through the S's for the final time then. And despite some of the naysayers, from the naysayer standpoint, this could have gone a lot worse. I think the weekend has been a success, despite some of the surprises that have been seen on track and some of the surprises in the pit lane as well. Winterbottom with another fantastic run, and this means that we're up to 10 individual winners from 10 races. The Super Touring franchise will be very pleased with that, as with the Japanese organisers. Top 5 across the line. Who's there for the minor finishes? Narusaya Nomura, which has fallen back a little bit more, but more importantly, we did see Frentzen, there we go, Fujiwara did not have enough puff in that elder statesman Civic to get even the remotest sliver of points. Frentzen sparing her blushes after a fantastic race one, a strategic downfall, but still points for that particular underdog story. And well, I'm slightly gobsmacked because of how sort of almost clean cut that was, race one and race two. Despite some of the stuff that stuck out like a sore thumb, Frenson's winning race one, the absolute downpour, and then the almost the immediacy of the track drying up. A fantastic effort all around from the organisers and for the drivers who kept it on the island, Swinny.
Yeah, absolutely. After this race weekend here at the High Speed Ring, now that it's completed its refurbishment, I have but one note, and that is, I'm sad I wasn't taking part in the charcoal void. That looked like a lot of
That
fun.
would have been a vision. And of course, being a Mazda, it would have perhaps fit right in. Rear wheel drive being allowed in that.
Yeah,
That car
absolutely.
consigned to the history books, I think. I don't think anyone's going to be brave enough to run something like that in the Worlds or even the Euros. Obviously, something more sensible, Mazda shaped for yourself in the European Championship. We still have to pick up on that at some point, I reckon. See if we can do like the title decider or the final round. We'll try and put the word in for that. As for Japan, I do believe that it's Bathurst next. In which case, we'll still have to keep an eye out for the news. And as for the Worlds, we're off to Barcelona. And to summarise with the championship points then, despite the potential lottery that we saw just then, and how many different race winners there have been, Winterbottom is now leading the championship, 16 points ahead of Gordon Butcher, who was leading at Autopolis. E-Day still third in the drivers. Now for the manufacturers, the Genesis team have got into the lead of that particular championship, knocking Mazda off their particular perch, and Toyota have also knocked them off of second place. It's been pretty much a swap. Genesis were third at Autopolis. Mazda now third. Toyota still second. As for the privateers, then, despite E-Day romping away with it, and even then, Chaser is still romping away with the privateer championship. There, the Mitsubishi team have caught up somewhat, but it's still not close, despite fourth and fifth in this weekend. Still ahead of the rest of the clan. The Caterpillar team obviously gaining ground with their win, third in that standings as well. You've summarised the weekend there, Swinny, with this has been a very good venue to come back to. I think it might just be perfect for touring cars. There's plans for more powerful equipment to come round here. Dare I say that might be a bigger risk?
Potentially, it depends on what the more powerful equipment is. Because I could see a Super GT race around here, or if they did something kind of crazy and said GT 300 only, maybe, and allowed for some extra entrance. I don't know. But either way, as a quick note, it is Suzuka as the next Japanese
Yes.
round, and we're doing the full Grand Prix course as well. So we're going to go from a short, quick lap to a very, very long lap, and over 2 minutes in lap times.
So that will be all 20 cars, hopefully, fully fixed and back in a more drivable habitat. This was obviously a power circuit, if ever there was one. The long straights of Suzuka notwithstanding, but we'll see you there. On behalf of Michael Swinnerton, I've been Adrian Michael Rees. We'll see you then. And final note, if you're seeing different racing lines, we know what's going on. Good racing, everyone. See you soon.